A new school year arrives, but Metro parents remain filled with questions and fears.
We have to be vigilant at all times.
We just want to make it as safe and as quick a response for them.
Tonight, KOCO 5 takes your concerns straight to the leaders in charge.
Okay, you guys ready?
Who will be in the classroom?
It's a huge need all across the state.
We need to address how to refill the pipeline so that people want to go into education.
How is their morale?
I feel like there are so many expectations put on teachers now.
They deserve much more credit outside of our walls.
And who will be telling them what to teach?
Do you feel like public education is under attack right now?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
When you attack one superintendent, you attack all of us.
Tonight, superintendents from 7 Oklahoma districts getting you ready for the first bell to ring.
Hi everyone and good evening. Thank you for joining us for Chronicle State of Our Schools. I'm Abigail Ogle. We are joined tonight by several local superintendents to talk about all of the issues parents are thinking about right now. So thank all of you so much for taking the time to have this dialogue with us. We know it's certainly important for parents in your districts, but also across the state. I wanted to start with this question. How are you all feeling going into this new school year?
Understaffed.
Understaffed, okay.
I would say cautiously optimistic is a good way for us to enter this year.
Ready to get the school year started.
I'm excited. We've been planning for months, and at this point, just ready to do those last finishing touches and get the first day started.
I'm really excited to get things started. I think this is a new year. I hope that COVID is at least going to give us a chance to catch our breath and maybe have a successful school year.
I'm excited to get started too. We've been working hard all summer. We're ready to welcome back our new staff and all of our students next week, in fact.
For us, there's certainly a buzz in the air. I mean, as we get into the end of July and get into that first week of August, you can feel it. It's electric. We all are beginning to welcome back our faculty and staff the next few days, our school leaders, and then our kids. So there's a buzz for sure.
One of the biggest topics that we are hearing right now is about school safety. Is that something you all are hearing from your parents in your district and from your teachers and school staff?
We've heard from parents and staff for multiple years. You know, going back to 2013, we learned through the tornado and some of the other tragedies that we faced, that safety and security plan that we knew then is an ever-changing document. We've been hyper-focused this summer on implementing new strategies and protocols, and unfortunately those are not things that we can typically share with the community at large for obvious reasons. But we are very focused and hyper-focused on the safety and security, and I'm sure everybody else is too.
Every time we turn on the TV and see something new, something tragic that has happened, we all get inundated with phone calls with concerns, not just from families, I mean our faculty and staff, our kids. So this is a conversation that is ongoing and it is ever-changing. As we try and match what's happening in society with how well we're prepared.
We've had to double down on some security measures that we've had in place for a while through the era of COVID and the, on again, off again. Those things kind of began to relax a little bit. I think we all got kind of comfortable, if you will. And so making sure that that document, that crisis plan that we all have is a living, breathing document. It's up to date and it's enforced to its fullest. I think everybody does a great job of making sure that everybody is prepared, but we've got to remind everybody of their roles. And so just working through that has been what we've spent a lot of the summer doing.
In Mid-Del, we serve schools in 4 different municipalities, and so working with those first responders and those departments has been an ongoing mission for us all summer long. It's something that we focus on year-round, but this summer it's been just a hyper area of focus for our safety and security team and for our administrators at all levels, so that we know that we're doing everything that we can do, but also that we are following the safety procedures we have in place. I don't think any of us lack for procedures. It's making sure that we have absolute compliance with those procedures and an understanding of all staff and all parents and students that these procedures are in place for everyone's safety.
We all have to remember that and whether it be a large school district or a small school district, we have students coming and going off our campuses, especially at our high schools, with the technology centers and building those career paths and the internships and concurrent enrollment. So we still have to be about school, and having our doors open for community. And so it is a fine line, and it sometimes can be a struggle.
We work with the city of Hara. We also work with the county to kind of work on procedures and policies and making sure that we are completely doing everything that we can to make everything safe as possible in our district. So anytime you have tragedies, there's a spotlight on school safety, and again, it's a moving target.
Dr. Courtney Knapp of Crescent Public Schools, as a superintendent, when you see something like what unfolded in Uvalde, Texas, what does that do to you as a superintendent? As you're watching that coverage, what's going through your mind?
I think it just really brings to light the extreme focus on how we have to be vigilant at all times. That one in particular was a very personal experience for me. Growing up down in San Antonio, I actually worked in Uvalde quite a bit when I was at the service center. So it's very heart-wrenching to see that can happen anywhere at any time, not just certain places that you would tend to expect.
So you worked in Uvalde?
I did, not as a contractor. I was down at the service center in San Antonio, and we provided support to, they were one of our school districts. And again, just kind of knowing that community, very close-knit community, you would obviously never expect something like that to happen there, but just kind of a reminder to us all that we have to remain just at highest alert at all times and make sure that we do have the staff and presence in Crescent. We're very fortunate to have local support. Our police department has been wonderful. We work with our county to do a hazard mitigation plan, and in light of those events, they've actually scheduled some updated meetings so we can review some more policies and procedures there.
That was going to be one of my questions, and I'll let you take this one, Dr. Jason Simmeroth with Yukon Public Schools. How do you and how often do you review your protocol, and what does that look like?
So formally, we do it on an annual basis. Informally, constantly, just from whether it's just walking around and just taking a casual stroll outside of a building to check doors, just to make sure some of our policies are being followed. But formally, we do it every year. We've got a new relationship this year, more refined with our local police department. As far as this summer, we made sure every officer in the district, every officer in the city went through every site in our district, walked every hallway, touched every door, so they know ins and outs. We have access panels on all of our doors, so now all of our officers actually have that in their badges on their IDs, so they can tag in and go through any door. We just want to make it as safe and as quick a response for them as they need. I think one of the things that COVID did do, as far as not having access to our buildings, it allowed us to see maybe some of those processes that we need to take back, some of the just random freedom with which people are able to come in and do things. So we have a little bit of a tighter hold on people coming in to our district now, whether it's birthday parties or whatever. We're going to make sure that we know, for the sake of the kids and for the sake of instruction. Kids learn better when they know they're safe or they feel they're safe. So we're going to make sure that that's part of our routine as we start the new school year.
I would just add to that, for us, I think like all of us, there are a couple pieces to this that are really important. One is the vulnerability assessment, so that we have people walking through, finding where gaps are. Can somebody walk through a door into a school? If so, how do we mitigate that? What steps do we take? Then the other piece is the training, which Dr. Simmeroth talked about, allowing access to our buildings to who would be first responders, our law enforcement partners.
And staff. Doing
Correct.
that training with our staff as well. And that's something that all of us do. And I'm going to guess all of us are probably picking back up this year that we haven't done in the last 2 or 3.
I know you all said for safety reasons you can't really discuss the protocol, which we certainly understand. I'm assuming there are drills that are performed so students and teachers and staff know what's being done. Dr. Rick Cobb of the Middale School District, when you do these drills, do you worry about the psychological impact that could have on a child?
I do. I worry about how that affects our students, but I worry about how it affects our staff too.
Sure.
And I think that we've already talked about how Dr. Simmeroth mentioned that students need to feel safe to learn. Well, I think the adults need to feel safe to perform their jobs effectively too. And on one hand, performing the drills signals to the adults that we have a plan, that we've thought through as many different possible scenarios as we can. But at the same time, we've heard from adults and we've heard from students in the past that too many drills can be traumatizing, and so we have to be mindful of that. There has to be a balance there. We can't use that as a reason not to do any drills at all, but we can't make that the center of what we do. We know that there are plans in place, and so we're going to do the drills that keep us prepared, but not keep the focus away from teaching and learning.
You said that you want teachers, of course, they want to feel safe. Should teachers be armed?
I don't believe that that's what's best in our community, but I think every school district has the right under state law to make that decision for themselves.
Does anyone feel differently?
I would agree with Dr. Cobb for more.
I'll let you take this one, Ms. Cecilia Robinson Woods with Millwood. What does the entry point look like? Is that a realistic solution?
So 2015, my community passed a bond to put a security vestibule in every school so that we have a holding point. And so they have to be buzzed in, and then they're held in the security vestibule until somebody identifies them to tell us why we're there, and then they have access. So in addition to that, now we will have security when they enter the main office, because the main office is vulnerable. All of our security vestibules and our front doors placement are away from classrooms. And so just getting into the building, you still can't get to classrooms without going down a hall. We didn't have to retrofit too much to make that safety piece happen. But we also, in addition to that, hired safety and security liaisons. And these are CLEAT certified people who aren't carrying guns, but what they do all day is walk around and check doors. We are an open campus. Our elementary is contained to one building, but our middle and high schools, they walk between 3 or 4 buildings depending on the time of day. So we always have an armed person in the area in which they walk, and we also have a safety and security liaison who goes behind them to make sure we don't have stragglers and that kids are clear. And so this is our 3rd year with safety and security. So, and it literally, their sole reason is when kids get wherever and passing period is over, to make sure that all of those doors are closed. And so in addition to that, we've increased the amount of cameras. So I also have people, a security person, our head of security, sits in an office and watches over 200 cameras over the course of the day, just to make sure that we're keeping our eyes on things. So but we are on a main thoroughfare. We're on Martin Luther King. And so we have a lot of traffic and are getting more foot traffic as Oklahoma City grows. And so that people being able to walk through our campus is a real concern. So we've definitely beefed up that.
What is the situation like in Hera, Mr. Paul
A
Bless?
lot of our buildings were designed before 1990 and have every basically classroom has accessibility to a door. And those are really challenging issues. We don't have a lot of resource officers, so we have to rely on our own protocols and making sure that doors are constantly locked and making sure that mechanisms are working in place where students are buzzed in and out of buildings. We've got 2 campuses, kind of like what you'd said was that they're outside the actual school buildings, transferring between one building to a cafeteria or one building to the gymnasium. So it's tough, it's challenging, and it's one of the things that, like I said, you're always constantly looking for what are ways that we can improve.
It seems often that these intruders, the suspects in these mass shootings, are students within that school district, if not within that school. Do teachers, staff members, do they have the authority to come to the district and say, so-and-so's behavior has changed, or I'm a little concerned with what I'm seeing from this student? Do teachers have a system in place where they can report concerning behaviors like that? Dr. Robert Romines with more, what do you?
Absolutely, they do. And we started the initiative with building a mental health team within our school district. That's grown to 13 individuals. And so we really felt the need to start that to work with our students, the wraparound services, and provide those opportunities for our students and our staff. So absolutely, there is a process in which they would report, whether it be to one of our mental health providers, administrator, or whatever, or whoever they feel comfortable reporting that to.
Dr. Knapp, what about your
Absolutely.
district? So often teachers are the ones or a coach spending the most time with this student and really can notice a potential change or a shift. So what system is in place for that kind of reporting?
I think definitely that's something we encourage. Our teachers, like you said, are often some of the ones to know our kids best, and they can pick up on a change in behavior or maybe circumstances that a student has been going through, and make us aware of those. I know as we start the year, trauma-informed instruction is going to be one of our focus is for the year, and really making sure that our staff feel equipped to identify behaviors and then how to come forward and who to come to in the district to talk about that.
What is trauma-informed instruction?
So being aware of students who have experienced trauma in the past, sometimes it's in the recent past, and how to handle those situations in the classroom. Obviously those impact learning to a great deal, and so we really want to find strategies to support our students, not just instructionally, but the whole child as well.
The largest school district on our panel, obviously, Oklahoma City Public Schools, Dr. Sean McDaniel. What are your thoughts on that? Teachers and coaches and staff potentially being responsible for identifying what could possibly be a child or a teenager whose behavior has changed and might become violent?
You know, I think there's always a will in a teacher to do the right thing by a kid, right? So whether they have the authority to do it or is it a responsibility, great teachers do that innately. They see something happening, they see a change, and they want to help. And so the responsibility we have as districts is to clear that pathway for them. So in Oklahoma City, we have a number of different hotlines where even anonymously, a teacher, a parent, a friend can access a hotline 24/7 and report something that they are concerned about. But what we want to do is have culture, climate inside a building that really speaks to a teacher that there is a way that you can go to a counselor, you can go to your assistant principal, your principal, and let's have that conversation. So I think there's that innate, I want to help, number one, that's the most important thing. And then as districts, we create pathways for them to make that happen. And we've all done that.
It's certainly what we're hearing,
Yeah.
you know, the top what we're hearing. I know we've talked a lot about school safety and we need to move on, but just quickly, when you talk about that hotline, do you get a lot of tips sent in and has anything?
We absolutely do, yeah. And it's a range of tips. It's not, you know, every call we get is, hey, you want to check out so-and-so, we're afraid that they may do something. It's the gamut of, you know, we think something's happened, he broke up with a girlfriend and seems very depressed. It could be, I've seen a huge change in behavior, or I heard some of my kids' friends talking and here's what they said. And so we're able to then begin following up on those types of things and just deploying our resources and trying to find out fact, fiction, what's the depth of it, how do we provide assistance.
It's certainly an important conversation and potentially the number one thing that parents, teachers, superintendents are looking at right now, school safety. Another big one, and you mentioned it right off the top, Cecilia Robinson Woods with Millwood. When I asked how you're feeling, you said understaffed. So when we have to take a quick break, but when we come back to chronicle state of our schools, we will be talking about the teacher shortage and how it's impacting your child in the classroom and what can be done to fix it. That's coming up. Welcome back to Chronicle State of Our Schools, and the title of our program, State of Our Schools, we have to talk about the teacher shortage. How bad is it at your district currently, Dr. Cimarron?
Well, we have needs, absolutely, and I will tell you, I think we may be one of the more fortunate of the group. I don't know. Our openings right now are not in the 10s and 20s. Our highest needs, and Robert alluded to it off camera, and I think all of us will echo that, are special ed teachers. It's a huge need all across the state, and finding the people to fill those positions is in dire straits right now. But one of the other areas that we are having trouble filling are some of the upper level science and upper level math positions. They're just not there. We have right now, and I say that as of like 347, we have 52 first-year teachers in our district. Not first year to UConn, but first year. And that takes a lot of effort on the part of districts with mentorship programs, with our curriculum department, working with those teachers to make sure that they provide the quality of instruction that our students need.
I had a conversation with the superintendent about 3 or 4 years ago, and this is when the teacher shortage really became a big deal, and made the comment about, you know, we're going to get to a point toward school districts are kind of fighting over the same 1 or 2 applicants that were there. And I've noticed a real transition from folks that are going from one school district to another school district that are then being pulled from another school district. And I see that problem becoming more and more as the numbers become less and less and less. We emergency certified more teachers this year than I ever have in my entire 10 years at Hera. And I don't see that trend going away.
That's true in Mid-Del as well. We've just year after year, this is my 8th year as superintendent, and the number of emergency certified teachers that we've had just keeps growing. And at some point, as a state, we need to address how to refill the pipeline so that people want to go into education as a career. We all chose to do this, and I think with exceptions of certain moments, have loved doing this for a long time. And you know, I'd still be proud for my kids to go into education as a career. It's something that has incredible value. You know, it goes back to the fact that we just don't have a lot of traditionally certified applicants coming to us anymore. And if they're applying in Mid-Del, I've got to get them hired before one of these 6 people gets them hired.
Did you see a lot of your more experienced teachers retire potentially during COVID and then didn't come back, and now you're lacking, I guess you would call it kind of a locker room veteran, you know, a mentor, someone who's been doing this for 20 years to help mentor those 52 first year teachers?
In regards to retirement, we had record retirements in Moore this year. And I think part of that had to do with teachers after the teacher walkout, pay raises, and getting their I-3, and most definitely COVID. Beginning of the summer, we were just about fully staffed, and of course, in a growing school district, as students continue to come in, we're now fighting and clamoring to find those teachers to be in those classrooms. And so that's where we are with Moore Public Schools.
I feel like there was a mass exodus of teachers, especially around COVID, in regards to just the expectations, right? The burdens that were taken on in addition to pay and honestly, in addition to the political climate. I've had more conversations with teachers about the questions that they get at church, the questions that they get at the grocery store, the clarifications that they're regarded to make or asked to make. It has been a level of pressure like nothing that anybody can remember. And so teachers have gone from being the hero, you know, when everybody was down in COVID and keeping it going, you know, back to the villain. And so people don't want to carry that burden. In regards to the quality of education, I feel like people that step up and come to schools and go through a process to be emergency certified and choose to work in schools, you have a pretty rigorous interview process. We're not just taking people off the street, but if they want to be in schools, before you can teach, you have to develop relationships, right? And so if you want to be there, you're more than likely willing to develop relationships. For me, I've entered into a pretty unique partnership with Teach for America. And so they work with all of my emergency certified teachers, all of my new teachers to provide the same quality training that they prepared their Teach for America Corps with. And so we really invested in people because relationships and life experience really help when you go into the classroom. And so I think there are some safeguards that you can put in place to ensure content works, but I think I would never insult anybody who decides to come into a classroom and teach by saying that they're bringing a poor quality.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the supports that we put in place.
Absolutely.
You know,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Moore Public Schools is very much the same way. We spend a lot of money at the front end to retain and build those supports in, and I think we all do that to a certain extent. That probably looks very different in each district, but our goal is to get individuals in the classroom that can teach and develop the relationships and do what they need to do. And Cecilia mentioned we don't take just anybody off the streets.
Right.
I mean, you know, you look at the national political business as far as public education. I think there are some states that are looking at some of those different things, and I hope that the state of Oklahoma does not ever get to that point. But we are not, I think I can speak for all of us, we do not pick people off the street just to fill a classroom.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So just because your student may have a teacher who is emergency certified, it doesn't mean the quality of education is lacking.
Absolutely. Okay. The supports that we put in place, I mean, honestly, thank goodness for COVID money, right? We're able to train to kind of help us fill this void of certified teachers that are coming out of school that were traditionally trained, if you will. But I mean, I would argue that life experience is a really good teacher that helps people with, like I said, you can't teach anything if you can't build relationships. And people that are coming in that have lived some life, they're much better at building relationships with children. But the other follow-up I wanted to give you, when you said who aren't in classrooms, whenever we are in a situation where we aren't getting teachers through the traditional pipeline, we also aren't getting diverse groups of teachers. And so the amount of people that may look different from a typical teacher, which 85% or 80% of America's teachers are white females, that dramatically decreases because minorities aren't going into teaching. They're not. And so most of the people that I get that either speak another language or are of a marginalized group, they come to me through an alternative route or through an emergency cert. They're not going through the traditional teaching paths.
Dr. McDaniel, the largest district here in the metro, how are you looking right now when it comes to staffing across your district? What's being done to try to fill some of these gaps, and where are you lacking the most?
So I'll give you a couple numbers. One that we're really excited about is we're 95% staffed. Now that means we have 133 vacancies. So when you talk volume, the percentage really doesn't matter. We're looking for 133 classroom teachers right now. Overwhelmingly, the biggest chunk, special education teachers. So we're in a similar boat. I couldn't help, just as I'm listening to my partners here, what we don't hear enough maybe is who that teacher is and how creative teachers are and how innovative, and they're problem solvers. And it doesn't matter what the odds against them are, they're always coming through for us. I don't think we hear that enough. But we all would argue that my teachers are the best teachers in the state of Oklahoma. Everybody
Absolutely.
Here would say that because we get to see them in action. We get to see them solve the problem. It's not all about academic growth and achievement. It is about that, but it's about taking kids wherever they are and meeting their needs, and our teachers do that better than anybody. They are changing lives every day in every one of our school districts, and they need to be celebrated. Our teachers are phenomenal, whether it's an emergency cert, alternative,
Right.
traditional route. They are changing the lives of our kids and putting them on pathways that, if not for that teacher, kids are, they may not have a chance, but because of our teachers, they do.
And I would also argue that emergency certified teachers are so much more innovative. They don't have a box. Nobody ever taught them how to be a teacher. So they're getting in there, pulling out everything they can figure out, and they start solving things in ways that we've never thought about because they're trying to get the job done. I kind of like the mix up, personally.
I've got a perfect example. We've got a couple, husband and wife. One of the wife was a kindergarten teacher at one of our lower socioeconomic schools, and she was emergency certified, and she's probably one of the best early childhood teachers that I've ever come in contact with. You know, we've got to get back to the old way of thinking as far as where our teachers are and what they do and what they can accomplish, and that starts at the top with our lawmakers and all the way to the top.
And that goes towards, again, why we may have fewer people in entering into it, because they see the beat down publicly, legislatively, and it's why would I want to do this? We can tell you why. Just look at the smile on these people's faces when we talk about kids. It's all about the kids.
I'm glad you all brought that up, and that's something that we are definitely going to get into. The rhetoric, you mentioned they went from being the hero all the way down to the villain again. How are our teachers feeling right now, and how that is contributing to the teacher shortage? That all coming up on Chronicle State of Our Schools. We'll be back. Welcome back to Chronicle, State of Our Schools, continuing our conversation right now about morale in the classroom and how teachers are feeling. I was talking with a longtime educator earlier this week who said he has never seen morale this low. Is that something that you're seeing right now? Crescent, we'll start with you.
I feel like there are so many expectations put on teachers now. for anything from school safety to dealing with the aftermath of COVID, making sure that we get kids back on a level that makes them successful and really focusing on that growth. And sometimes with, as we've talked about, understaffed situations. So I think really providing that support to teachers. I know one of our priorities this year is going to be increasing our mentor program. And just like we talk about wraparound services for students, the wraparound services for our teachers as well. Mentoring not just on classroom management and classroom strategies, but really how can I help you outside the classroom? What do you need? And how can we be a more cohesive, supportive community for all of those teachers, no matter where they come from?
How would you say your teachers are feeling right now? Would you say that they're excited? Would you say that they're beat down?
It's August, right? They are so excited. So I have a son who's actually a teacher in Tulsa, and he treats me, well, anyway, I still buy his school supplies for his classroom. He's like, hey, well, because he's a teacher, right? So I got to help him get his classroom together, and he didn't even start for like 3 weeks, and he's already built it. So teachers love that. Like, we have to hold them off, like, let us finish cleaning before you get in here to decorate your classrooms and get everything together. However, when they go out into the community, it's a heavy burden. It really is a heavy burden, and it is all of the things that schools are expected to be now, but honestly, quite honestly, don't get the credit for. Every single one of our teachers, our schools, they want to build a community in which kids feel safe, parents feel like they can have conversations, and they feel safe. And so they're eager, but it is a heavy load to carry.
Dr. Rick Cobb of Mid-Del, we have seen schools, especially public schools, school board meetings become the newest political arena, whether it comes to what can and can't be taught in schools, who can use the bathroom, transgender athletes in sports, what books are allowed to be read. How are your teachers feeling? How are they coping with all of that, and how are you?
As far as what our teachers are feeling right now, I think it's a range of things, and I've talked to some teachers who are really excited for school to start. They've been in their classroom way before they're back on contract, just trying to get things set up, because that's, you know, there's just always that dedication and that commitment. We've had teachers, we had our largest summer school ever in June, paid for in part by COVID funds. More students than we've ever had participate, more teachers than we've ever had participate. We've had professional development going on throughout the summer, hundreds of teachers a week going to things on their own time. So in terms of the professional commitment of our teachers, I haven't seen that wane. But what I'm hoping is that this summer was a little more restorative for our teachers than last summer was. I think that was something that we all felt coming out of the 2021 school year. Okay, we need a couple of months to breathe and everything will be better. And then then Delta hit right at the beginning of the school year, and it wasn't. And so I'm just hopeful that this year some of that rest was actually restorative, because last year it didn't feel like it was once we really got into the heat of things in August.
You know, one of the things I've been really, really excited about is to see all of the teachers that are participating in professional development taking time away from their summer to learn and do and come away with tools that they can utilize this fall. And I think that is really exciting. You know, even with our athletic programs, we've had more participation with our coaching staff and more just stuff that's going on during the summer, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see these kids involved and engaged, and see all these teachers that are wanting to get better, that are incorporating professional development activities and things like that. It's exciting.
Dr. Romines and Dr. Simmeroth, you both were talking about the political divisiveness and the rhetoric that you have heard from the state. How has that impacted you, your district, your teachers?
I think a lot of what we try to do is we really try to do our best to insulate our staffs from that. I mean, they hear it. We try our best to support them, to let them go about their mission, really, of teaching kids. But I will tell you, it's exhausting when you have state leaders that are not the most supportive of public education. What, we have 600, 700,000 students.
Give or take.
Give or take, yeah. Every kid that comes into our doors we serve. But it's hard when you have leaders, candidates that are openly critical or openly attacking public institutions like this.
Do you feel like public education is under attack right now?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
For years.
absolutely.
When you attack one superintendent, you attack all of us.
That's right.
It doesn't matter what the school district is. If you are attacking a school or a superintendent, all of us feel it.
Schools and kids should not be a political weapon, a political
Pawn.
tool.
Right.
Well, and as Cecilia mentioned, superintendents feel it, or teachers feel it.
Right.
We won't talk about what school districts that you're referencing, but the educators in my district, they watch that and they see that unfold. And to be quite honest, it's scary, and it inflames people, and it's just not good practice, and it's not good business.
I will say, none of us believe that we are all knowing and all being to everybody.
No.
None of us are. But we all would like the opportunity to hear first from people who have concerns so that we can address the concern before we hear it in public. And often what's happening is people are being attacked, and that's the first time they're hearing it when it goes out public, which we would never allow for that to happen to our teachers. If somebody comes to us, they see us in the grocery store, they say, Mr. So-and-so does so-and-so. I'm like, have you talked to Mr. So-and-so? Let's start there.
Perfect example with news with reporters. You and I've worked together a long, long time. And anytime there's a question, you pick up the phone and you call.
Absolutely.
And you say, Romines, this is on our radar. What's going on here?
Yep.
Now that social media has taken a front there, I mean, you can get on Twitter or Facebook and just Google certain things or search certain things, and it's an attack on social media, and it's a mess, and it's unfortunate and it's unfair.
You also used the word scary, which stuck out to me, and we won't mention certain school districts, but when you see one being audited or you see one being placed on warning, does that hinder your job a little bit? You say it's scary. Do you think your teachers feel like maybe they're walking on eggshells a little bit? They don't want to get the district in trouble.
When you're making lesson plans as a teacher, you have all of these things that you want to get through. I've got 50 minutes in this English class to get here, 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 and here. And somebody makes a comment, and now you have a teachable moment. And I don't want our teachers to be so afraid of that teachable moment that they don't reach out and do it. That they just say, nope, you know what, it's unscripted, I better just keep going. Because there are times that the best things I taught my students when I was teaching high school English weren't what was in the lesson plan to begin with. And so I don't want our teachers teaching with alligator arms.
We've talked about several of you called it a political pawn, different talking points within public school education, what can and can't be taught, critical race theory, what's in books, just all sorts of stuff. But Dr. McDaniel, was there ever a moment in recent months or even in recent years where you were maybe watching a school board meeting or you were reading something on social media where you thought things are now different? Things have changed when it comes to public education.
It seems like the heat has been turned up considerably the last 2 or 3 years, for sure. And I think what keeps us all positive and keeps our attitudes in check is no matter what the heat is, we continue to see our teachers performing. No matter what happens, they show up, they roll up their sleeves, they get in there and they change lives. And so I think that's what, that's I guess the silver lining of this whole thing. I'm not going to say we don't hear a little whining every now and then. We do, but then they get in and get the job done.
Right.
And they don't use things for excuses. They don't point to the political mess or something somebody said as an excuse to not do their best. They acknowledge it, we talk about it, we support them, they get in and get it done. So, but yeah, I think the last couple of years has been unlike any pressure that I've ever seen placed upon public education.
Sean mentions teachers continuing to do the good work and doing what they do. Our students are performing too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, take a look at the 700,000 plus public education students that are performing and doing well. And that's where I get my life, when I get down and I see things or public education under attack or one of these under attack, I'm in a classroom and immediately, the light switches, and teachers are the very same way.
A lot of the rhetoric around what should be happening, what shouldn't be happening, and the conversation about being parent-led, right? Parents ought to have this, and parents should know this, and parents. We are here every single day for kids who don't have parents, who don't have a community, who don't have the only consistency they have is school. Those are the people that teachers show up for every single day. Those are the people that are being left out of this conversation. We are worried about the people who have, and we're leaving out the people who have not. And that's why we do what we do. That is why teachers do what they do. It's not to say that those concerns aren't important, but if you have a parent, that means you can have a conversation, right? Some adult can represent you. We have babies who every night they go somewhere different. Every day they go somewhere different, and they show back up to do well. That's why we do what we do. That's why public schools are important. That's why the dismantling of public schools is wrong, because the people that lose out are brown, poor, and they don't speak English.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Chronicle State of Our Schools. We have been talking about the challenges that teachers and support staff are facing right now when it comes to political conversations, the teacher shortage, when it comes to pay raises, that sort of thing. My question to you now, why would someone, amid all of this, why would someone want to become a teacher?
I'll answer that. I think it's to make a difference in a kid's life. I mean, you know, I think we all have our own personal reasons why we got an education, and mine was, you know, if I could walk away and some kid remembers me 25, 30 years ago on some small lesson or some small, you know, something I did for that child to change that child's life, I think that's the most important thing in the world. And I know there's everybody's got their own story and reasons why they got in public education, but I kind of walk away with the idea that everybody has that desire and has that, and I feel like, you know, to be a great teacher, that's where it comes from. It's to make that difference in some child's life.
People were complaining about how poor our education is and how stupid our kids are. And I'm like, somebody's got to help. I mean, I'm not going to solve the world, but I get tired of people complaining about things and not offering solutions. So I thought, I'm going to offer a solution, and that's me, and I'm going to do the best I can. So I think that's why people need to get into education. There are problems, we need help, and teachers are the #1 solution for our students.
That's interesting. You know, you're almost flipping it on its head. Instead of looking at all of these things as a deterrent, why not to get into education? You're almost looking at it as a motivation to do it.
Yeah.
That to
Change the world,
fix some of these
one
problems.
kid at a time.
Yeah.
I'm a 4th generation teacher. It's kind of the family business, and then I have a son who's also a teacher. But the other part of it is I come from a family with servant hearts, and so if you have a servant heart, this is the best profession that you can make a difference. Every single day you can give something different.
It goes back to what I saw my mom doing when I was growing up, and I saw that this work is valuable, and it's still valuable. And anybody teaching in Mid-Del, where we have 2nd and 3rd and 4th generation teachers who've been in Mid-Del for all that time, you know, when you see somebody that's doing work that they find valuable and you find valuable too, you want to follow in their footsteps.
I know exactly what that's like.
Yeah, I guess so.
I really do. But we are seeing fewer and fewer opting to go into teaching. That's why you all said that you are sometimes having to fight over those same applicants and the same candidates. We've seen districts offer bonuses and try to get, do those tactics, do those work?
A couple of years ago, we started the school year at about 84%. We had over 500 vacancies. And so we had to up our game a little bit and kind of compete. So we have offered stipends, retention stipends, signing stipends. COVID gets your shot and you get a stipend. I mean, we've tried to be as creative as we could be, and that does help. But we've got to continue to do work in our district on just valuing our teachers and making sure they have the basic resources that they need to be successful. So yeah, we've tried a lot of things, but we're in a different place. You know, just our volume, we have 2,600 classroom teachers, and so we can be 97% staffed, but we still have a lot of vacancies to fill. So that stipend gets us closer to the finish line.
I'm sure that the numbers are a little bit different when it comes to Crescent Public Schools, Dr. Knapp, but when it comes to recruiting and maintaining and keeping teachers, what have you found valuable?
I think going back to the mentor program and just having that support. Sometimes the financial incentive obviously can get people in the door, but we want them to stay and we want them to continue to have a lasting impact on the lives of our students. And, modeling that, I think a lot of us have talked about the reasons we went into education. And I look back as a middle school student myself and remember my dad, retiring from the Air Force and beginning to teach 8th grade English. And I thought, oh my goodness, why would he want to, make that change? And just the love that he had for the students, watching them come back year after year, remembering his funny English stories and, talking about just the impact that he had on their lives. And that's what I feel like we have to continue modeling for our young generation. And so we promote that love for teaching and learning.
Chronicle State of Our Schools will be back right after this. I'm potentially looking the most forward to what we're just about to talk about. As we continue our conversation, Chronicle State of Our Schools, let's circle back to the very beginning of this conversation. I asked all of our superintendents how you're feeling about going into this school year. We heard understaffed, which we talked about, but we also heard excited and ready, cautiously optimistic. What are you most looking forward to? What are you excited about?
I'm excited about it starting. We had principals come back already, and I've met with them, and that was really positive. Next week, our teachers come back, and on the day that teachers come back, we'll have convocation. We'll have a presentation from local law enforcement about safety and security measures. But what I'm most looking forward to is spending the rest of the day with my student advisory board, which is students from each of our 3 high schools. We're going to have student-led tours of each high school and just talk about some of the issues that they're facing and begin the conversation about how we can improve as a district from the student perspective.
Dr. McDaniel?
When you walk the halls of a school in the summertime, it's really quiet. We'll all be out and about visiting schools on the first day, and just to walk back into a school and hear the voices and the foot stomping and seeing the hugs and the excitement between the teacher and the kid, and just that reuniting after a long summer. That's what I always look forward to, is just touring the district and trying to get into schools and just see that magic. I mean, that's what I look forward to the most.
I will be entering my 27th year, which sounds so crazy to say out loud. I know you thought I was 28, but and so
congratulations!
Thank you,
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Right, and so entering that, I still, and we probably all do, have that like overnight jitters, like right before the first day. The jitters are for different reasons, right? But we still have those first day of school jitters. So I have a kid that has been at Millwood since preschool. And every time he sees me, because he was playing baseball and he would always take a selfie with me, every time he sees me, he wants to take a selfie. So my phone is full of these selfies with this kid. So I can't wait to see him in first grade to get my selfie with him, because I mean, those are the connections that I love in being in a small school district, is the kids remember me, I remember them, and a lot of them, want to take selfies, when we start school. So I'm excited to see and make those connections to kids we haven't seen all summer.
One of the things I look forward to, my background was elementary. I was an elementary principal for a long time, and one of the things, we have an early childhood center that's a pre-K through first grade. To go in and stand at the front door as these kiddos are coming in, and it's like their very, very, very first experience of school, it takes your breath away. I mean, the excitement in the eyes, the parents are excited, the kids are excited, and some of them are a little apprehensive. You got to kind of pull them away from the leg there sometimes. But I think that's what it's all about to me, is to see that first experience with these kids as they walk in the door. They got their best clothes on, they've got the backpack on, they got the lunch pail on, and to me, that's what it's all about.
I'm excited to see the kids back. I think there's just that special moment, first day of school pictures. You get to kind of revisit all of the fun things that the kids did over the summer, and just seeing the pure excitement in their eyes meeting their teacher and getting to experience that for the first time, and connecting with their peers that they haven't had a chance to see all summer, and just visiting those classrooms. I think I would agree, in the summer it's very quiet in the building, and we just welcome that noise and that just constant go with the kids, and really looking forward to that.
Are you usually surprised to see how much they've changed just over a few months?
Yes, absolutely. And I would also say we have some teachers that have, just really volunteered their time over the summer, some who've never left over the summer, and, just that passion for getting things ready and wanting to see that moment where it all comes to place on that first day for their kiddos.
I'm looking forward to opening up 35 sites and welcoming 25,000 plus students. It's very similar to what you all say. The halls are quiet right now. I'm looking forward to seeing our staff back in action. And maybe stopping in a few kindergarten classrooms, pre-K classrooms, and getting the kids worked up, and then jetting. I do that really, really well.
What do you mean?
You go in and you ask them, how was your summer?
Yeah.
And they clamor, and then it's like, here you go, T.
Little kids want to hug.
It's all
when you
yours,
come
and
in.
they want to
always
hug.
wanna
And they're just so excited to be there. Another thing, on a personal note, my youngest one is going to be a senior at one of our high schools this year. And so this is our last one, and I am very proud of her, and Mom's very proud of her, so it's going to be fun to watch her walk through that. And I'm very proud that the Romines girls are products of public education. And I've got staff, if it wasn't for the staff at Moore Public Schools, they've helped raise my girls. And it's going to be an exciting year.
Fantastic. So, obviously kids, everyday kids and we all, that's what, again, Cecilia said, that's why we do what we do. A couple of specific things for me is I've been mentoring, I'm going to get emotional. I don't want to do that.
That's all right.
I've been mentoring this girl since 4th grade. She's now going to be a junior. Just watching her along the ways with her successes and her struggles and the way people have stepped in to work with her just warms my heart every year. And so that's very, very important that I connect right off the bat with her. And we have, if you ever doubt the way people feel about school districts and the community and the support, there's not a school district here that the parents won't say, my school district's the best. I don't know about the others. Education maybe have problems at whole, but not mine. Every year we have a thing called the breakfast at UConn. The first year I was there, I was blown away by this. Everybody crams into the gym, and we have the community come, and they provide breakfast, they decorate tables. They are just there to support every support staff, every certified teacher, every administrator in our district, because they love teachers. They love our public school system. It warms my heart every year.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, and thank you to all of you. Thank you for joining us for Chronicle State of Our Schools. I know that this was definitely a beneficial conversation for all parents, teachers too, support staff around the state. You provided really insightful information into what this upcoming school year is going to be like, the challenges you face, but still the passion that keeps driving you back, the passion that makes you emotional. So I certainly appreciate you all sharing your time and sharing a little bit of your heart with us. Thank you for joining Chronicle State of Our Schools. If you missed any part of tonight's conversation, you can watch our full show on KOCO.com or on the KOCO app. Have a good night.